one of the French pioneers in this was a man called Georges Méliès, who was a magician. In fact, he'd been intrigued by visiting the Egyptian hall and seeing masculine cook with their mysteries.
He came across the most amazing discovery.
He used magical thoughts, but created them using editing. So that people would vanish, pow, and reappear, pow, because of his editing, you know, freeze the frame, get out of the shot, continue the shot, freeze the frame, bring him back. That's how he did the stuff. And he developed, they say, 80% of the science that is used now in making movie effects.
He does an illusion with his head on a table, which is a very similar image to the Sphinx of just a generation earlier. Many of these trick films, many of the special effects that we now take for granted really grew out of magic shows. They were techniques being used by magicians that were transferred to the film. So you can see all of the analogies of Pepper's Ghost, all of the reflected images in the superimposed image. And you can see the various elements that were used to create that were transferred by Georges Méliès right onto the film. He was using the same formula of light objects and dark objects, of lit areas and darkened areas. The same formula that was being used for Pepper's Ghost was put on film.
I think in many ways, many of the special effects and the experiences we have in cinemas are a little bit like magic tricks. That if you don't understand, you have never encountered that particular trick before, it will fool you. So as a modern audience, we look back at the turn of the century films and think, my goodness, how could anyone become absorbed in this? It looks absolutely terrible. But as a modern audience, we go to an IMAX theatre, we experience 3D, and it completely blows us away because it's new technology.
If moving pictures were magic, then television itself was a miracle all of its own.
The magic land of Alakazam is one for everyone. Mark, well done!
Along comes a new science, which created a new theatre. And it's called television. It's the thing you're watching, folks. And it's about this big.
I'll lift the lid like this.
Mark Wilson was America's first big TV magic star.
One of the great advantages of magic on television can be that the entire audience is contained in an area about this wide. You see, that's that television lens right here.
The roof comes off, and inside, wait a minute, inside is nothing because Basil has disappeared.
And in the same way as Méliès before him, David Nixon, one of Britain's first TV magic stars, was excited by TV's technical possibilities.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And good evening. How are you? All right?
What David Nixon realized, of course, was that television gave him a whole new box of tricks, and that it was possible to perform a form of technical trickery, which he christened switchcraft.
And of course, it wouldn't be a Christmas tree without a fairy on the top.
And right at the start of his show, David would have his hand like this, and a little girl would be, well, she was a big girl, really, but she was only this big, and she would be dancing.
Today, it's hard to imagine what an impact a simple editing trick like this could make in the early days of TV.
But I think he soon realised that if you started mixing camera trickery and, as it were, stagecraft or stage trickery, that the audience didn't really know where one stopped and the other began.
I think it's always very problematic to take magic and place it on television, I think the viewers always feel one removed. There's always that notion, well, if I was really sitting in the audience, I'd be able to work out what's going on, because they understand that television producers can use some sort of television trickery, some sort of camera trickery, or choose their angles very carefully.
Sometimes television loses the magic for us. Supposing you put a lady in a box, right, and then you go over to another table to pick up something, and the camera pans with the person to the table. Well, it's, you know, while that's happening, the lady's got out of the box and has changed, and you know, you could load an elephant like that.
So a number of very ingenious magicians created the ground rules that made magic work on television, doing it with a live audience, doing it without any trick photography, giving them a sense that they're really there watching it happen.
At the height of his career, Paul Daniels was attracting 15 million viewers every week using this approach.
One of my balloons has escaped.
It was a mark of discipline of the Paul Daniels magic show through the years that no camera tricks were ever performed.
Now this is camera 3, and this is big.
But we sort of broke with the rule on one occasion. It wasn't a camera trick, but it was a trick with a camera.
And just look through there, wave at the folks at home, and that's called camera 4, you see. So you just give a wave, see, like that. There you are. Right. You're a star.
So we put the cameraman and the cameraman in there, right? Now he's poking out through a little hole, you know, shooting through a little hole, and he's shooting the person we've got on the stage, you know.
Now the cable, as you can see, goes out the bottom, but we place this baton, ooh, splinters. We place the baton across there and into there, and that locks the doors more effectively than most things. And I'm going to just have a little wave in there at the camera. Are you all right in there, Doug?
Fine.
Oh, thank goodness for that. And just come round there yourself. You can have a little wave yourself. Wave you.
So now this camera is pointed around the whole set, you know. So you realise that as it's moving, it is taking pictures of the set and so on.
And we reverse it up, so now the people can see all the way around it who are here in the studio. I promised you a camera trick. This is a trick with a camera. 3, 2, 1.
Doug Henning's World of Magic, starring Doug Henning.
Well, Doug Henning was a special type of guy. Here's a guy that really believed in magic.
Doug Henning was America's preeminent star of the 1970s and was the first to have huge, extravagant TV magic specials built around him.
Steady, girl. Steady. Now, ladies and gentlemen, something you'll never forget. In a few moments, you will see the elephant gone now!
You know, if they like you, they'll like the magic. And I think most people really liked Doug.
A lot of the, illusions that we've seen on television, a lot of people say, gosh, that's just not magic. It's the magic of television that actually does that. Has television been a help to your craft or actually been a